left. Smith. Full. Larentowicz. Off the chest of Brian Mullan. Wall trying to get stuck in with him. Play is continuing on. No fouls called. And there'll be one call there. Brian Mullan, who leads the team in fouls committed. That's a straight red.
With the first selection of the 2009 MLS Superdraft, the expansion side Seattle Sounders FC selected winger Steve Zakuani from the University of Akron. A Hermann Trophy finalist as a sophomore, Zakuani came in with high expectations, and in his first 2 seasons in Seattle, he delivered. He was nominated for Rookie of the Year in an absolutely stacked 09 class, which included goalkeeper Stefan Fry and defenders Matt Beasler and Omar Gonzalez. He avoided a sophomore slump in 2010 by putting up 10 goals and 6 assists. He also scored the team's first ever playoff goal in a 2-1 defeat to the Galaxy. And there was genuine disappointment, not just from Seattle fans, but for most MLS fans, when he elected to play for the Democratic Republic of Congo over the U.S. men's national team. Steve Zakuani was a rising star and was quickly becoming a fan favorite in the Emerald City. And then, April 22nd, 2011, the Seattle Sounders paid visit to the defending MLS Cup champions, the Colorado Rapids. And just 4 minutes in, that happens. Broken leg. But not just any broken leg. This one was really bad. Both the tibula and fibula were fractured, and it caused compartment syndrome. Okay, cool. I finally get to use my EMT training in one of my videos. Okay, I know I don't actually need this right now, but it helps me look more professional. So your body has this thing called fascia, which is a protective membrane that helps cover tendons and ligaments and nerves and a whole bunch of things. It also helps connect organs to each other, such as muscle to skin. Now, fascia is great and all, but the thing that's important to note here is that it isn't very stretchy. Maybe you've noticed that whenever you get an injury, that part of the body starts to swell, and that's because fluid is rushing to that area. But when the swelling gets too great and it happens in a confined space, because remember, the fascia doesn't like to stretch, then you get what's called compartment syndrome. Essentially, the swelling builds up so much pressure that blood and oxygen can't reach other parts of the body. And if this isn't taken care of, then you can suffer from permanent nerve damage. In Zakuani's case, he was losing feeling in his foot, which as a soccer player, yeah, that's kind of a big deal. Compartment syndrome is a serious deal, because if it's not taken care of, then it can get so bad that, no joke, you can lose a limb over it. But don't worry, compartment syndrome is pretty much reserved for the extreme injuries, like tib-fib fractures. So if you sprain your ankle and you notice it starts to swell, relax. That's not compartment syndrome. You'll be fine. And that is compartment syndrome. All right, let's dissect the whole play here. Brian Mullan. He is definitely fouled here by Tyson Wall. He's held back. This should have been called. This should have been free kick Colorado. You can even see Mullen lift his arms in frustration. Now, this is 100% speculation. I can't actually confirm anything. But from what it appears, it looks like Mullen looks for retaliation. And I don't know if he thinks Zakuani was the guy who held him or if he was just the first person he saw. But from what it looks like Mullen is going headhunting. Full speed, direct contact, broken leg. It turns into jelly before it even hits the ground. Everyone knows it, and the worst part about it is the sound. I mean, Jesus Christ. It was bad, it was inexcusable, but I'm not sure you can say it was intended. I mean, it sure looks that way, but then again, Brian Mullan wasn't really that guy. He was a workhorse, he never quit on plays, but few would describe him as a dirty player. In fact, in over 320 MLS appearances, he had a total of just 4 red cards. And that was his first one since the 06 season. For reference, the MLS all-time leader in red cards is Roger Espinoza with 11. Can we absolutely say with 100% certainty that he was trying to injure Zakuani? Or was he just going in for a hard challenge and totally misplayed it? Brian Mullan was a good player, a damn good player by MLS standards. One of 4 players to win 5 MLS Cups, and he started in 4 of them. 03 with the Earthquakes, 06 and 07 with the Dynamo, and 2010 with the Colorado Rapids. Remember the 06 final? Twellman scoring in extra time only for Brian Ching to score the equalizer seconds later. The guy to provide the cross for Ching? Brian Mullan. He was also named Dynamo Team Co-MVP along with goalkeeper Pat Onstad in 2007. And remember, this was a team with Dwayne DiRosario, Brian Ching, Brad Davis, Ricardo Clark. Like, they were legit. I know Seattle fans are not gonna like what I have to say, but part of me feels bad for Brian Mullan. Not as bad as Steve Zakuani. I mean, he is the one that actually got his leg mangled. But this one play, this one really, really bad play, is kind of what most people remember him for. Outside of, I would say, Dynamo and Rapids fans. Now, I've never actually broken anyone's leg, but yeah, I've definitely lost my cool on the soccer field before, as many have. But with me, it wasn't at the professional level, it was Sunday League co-ed soccer. Yeah, kind of embarrassed to admit that. I have gone in way too hard on a tackle before, and I recognize that if I was just like a split second slower or faster, if my leg was just a little bit higher, I could have easily broken someone's leg. Like, I was lucky I didn't seriously injure the other guy. And the other guy was lucky that I didn't injure him. Like, the difference between, I shouldn't have done that, and ending someone's career because of a broken leg really is razor thin. Now, while I personally don't think Mullen was looking to injure anyone on the play, what didn't help the situation was what he said immediately after the game in the post-game press conference.
It's never my intention to injure him in the least. It's a tackle that I've done hundreds of times, and I'd probably do it again.
Excuse me, what?
And I'd probably do it again.
No mercy, bitch!
Okay, first of all, why is he around journalists right now? Like, he should not be talking to the media. Like, dumb move by the Rapids. And second of all, I mean, I get what he's trying to say, but bro, pick your words a little better next time. On top of the game he would miss for the red card, Brian Mullan was suspended an additional 9 games after the match, which made it the longest suspension in MLS history. But many fans still felt like 9 games was far too easy of a punishment for a tackle that ended a season. It's important to note, though, that Mullen had his defenders, mostly the coaches and players he played with. Even Sounders coach Siggy Schmid came out and said it was never Mullen's intention to hurt Zakuani. Gary Smith, his head coach at the time, who coincidentally had his career in England come to an end due to 2 broken legs, had initially come out and said they would try to appeal the suspension, but it was Mullen who actually refused. He accepted his fate. Gary Smith would later call this day the worst day of his MLS coaching career. Even worse than the day he got sacked by Colorado. Now, here's a legitimate question. If you don't believe Brian Mullan regretted this tackle, then why did he take time away from training to seek months of counseling? And why did he make several different apologies to Steve Zakuani? You know who doesn't do that? This guy. Nigel de Jong was a dirty player. Brian Mullan wasn't. He just had the worst tackle in MLS history. On July 8th, 2012, Steve Zakuani was set to make his much-anticipated return. And it just so happens that the very first game back for Steve would be against Mullen and the Colorado Rapids. Coming in as a late sub, the more than 39,000 fans in attendance that day got on their feet and held up the number 11 as Zakuani checked into the game. He was finally back. The Sounders would end up winning that day 2-1, but really, who cares about that? And then what happened after the game is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated and truly amazing moments of this league. One of my favorite images ever. Steve Zakuani and Brian Mullan traded jerseys. These two players will always be mentioned alongside each other because of one horrific play. But in this moment, the bad blood was gone. Zakuani had forgiven Mullen, and it was closure. Unfortunately, Steve Zakuani was never quite the same player after the injury. He struggled to crack the starting 11 and was even traded to the rival Portland Timbers in 2014. Following that 2014 season, Zakuani would retire at the age of 26. Brian Mullan would also retire at the end of 2014. Since retiring, Zakuani has stayed in the Seattle area and continued a career in soccer. He has worked with the Seattle Sounders broadcast team as both an analyst and color commentator. He's helped coach the Tacoma Stars of the Major Arena Soccer League, and also helped coach at the high school level with the Bellevue High School Wolverines. Also, recently, he's been contributing to the MLSsoccer.com page by writing some articles. Meanwhile, Brian Mullan entered nursing school after retiring and is now on the front lines taking care of COVID patients. I mean, come on. Even if you hate the guy, you gotta give him props for that. Of course, we wish this never would have happened. I mean, you never want to see a player get injured like that. But you gotta say, Steve Zakuani has handled this adversity remarkably well. Because while most would be eternally bitter towards Brian Mullan, I just get the feeling that Zakuani isn't. He's forgiven Brian Mullan a long time ago. And while his career has definitely taken a different direction than what he was probably planning, it's safe to say that Steve Zakuani is still living his best life. And that is something to be admired. So that's the story of Steve Zakuani and Brian Mullan. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a fan of MLS or just curious to find out more about the league, please subscribe for more MLS content. And also let me know what you want to see a video on in the future. Thank you for watching. See you next time.